Well, hey, greetings. Salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is John Campea, and this is an Ask Me Anything, kind of a form of open mic here on the channel, where instead of just movies or movie news and TV and streaming questions, which you can ask, absolutely, but feel free to ask me about anything else as well. You want to talk about tech and gear and YouTubing and podcasting or whatever else you guys would like to ask me, you totally have the right to ask me anything. I reserve the right not to answer, depending on the question, of course. And hello to everybody in here. Hey, just want to ask, as I do this show solo, I like to ask when I'm solo, guys in the live chat there. Hello to everybody who's in the live chat already. Can you just fire in a note? Let me know if you're able to see and hear me okay. And if so, we will get rolling on. And before we get into the questions, I'm going to update you guys on some Spectrum internet drama. All right. And awesome. You guys are saying Michael and Retribution and everybody's saying in there that you guys can see and hear me okay. Okay, so we have been having issues with our internet service, and our internet service provider is Spectrum. And the United States is a really weird place in a sense that it's very, very anti-competition here, because unlike every other industry, where you can compare and then have a choice of services that you want to use, right? Internet is different because the internet service providers, like the mafia, they carve out territories, right? And like a certain internet service provider will service one area and another internet service provider. Long story short, we don't have a choice, right? There is literally nobody else that services this spot than Spectrum Internet. And I tried them all. I gave them all calls. Like, sorry, we don't service that. Sorry. And so it's kind of thing. We're just like that, right? And it kind of culminated. You guys know we've had internet problems. And yesterday we were doing The Last of Us open spoiler discussion, and the internet just started to crap out, and we had to cut the show short. And that's just not good when you are an internet company, right? Like when you are a company like ours, where your business is being online and you need your internet running and you pay what we pay for business class internet service, it's no good. And we had no other choice. And I was actually starting to consider moving out of our studio. Like I honestly thought today I was going to have to start the process of searching for new office and studio space because we just can't deal with it. Now, today, Spectrum sent over a tech again. And today, that tech informed us that they identified the problem, they sent out a work crew, and they fixed the problem. So they claim. They claim they found and fixed our problem. So, with that said, we have had no internet trouble today. And like literally every day, our internet has gone out for at least a couple of minutes here and there. Today, no problems. So they say they found the problem. They say they fixed the problems. So here's hoping, right? Here's maybe our internet problems are over and maybe Spectrum has fixed the issue. If so, good on them. Fingers crossed. We'll see how we go. Anyway, guys. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining me here on this Ask Me Anything. I decided to fly solo today. I gave the rest of the guys half the day off. Everybody's been working really hard around here lately. So after we finished the main show today, Rob and the guys did a quick follow-up video to our Last of Us video from yesterday to answer the remaining 13, 14, or 15 questions. And once they wrapped that up, I said, guys, I got it for the rest of the way. You guys go home, take half the day off, relax. And now it's just going to be you and me and the bonfires of movie love as we talk about all the things we want to talk about here today. So let's not waste any more time, guys, and get right into it, shall we? We're going to start off here with Casey Mack. And Casey Mack writes, do you think we could get a TV spot revealing a possible date for Secret Invasion for the Super Bowl this Sunday? No, I don't. I don't believe there was a big list that came out the other day in Deadline about the things that are getting trailers. I don't believe Secret Invasion was one of them. I could be wrong about that. But I don't believe it will be one of them. And I don't, it's still a little far out. They don't need to announce the release date for it yet. streaming TV shows often will wait till like within a month or so of the show coming out before they give the official release date. So, and I don't know why they'd spend that much money. Because it's a lot of money. It's $7 million for a 30-second spot. So I don't know why they would spend that much money just to commercialize that right now. So yeah, I don't think they will. Good question though. All right, next up, we got Ketchup on Eggs who writes, are Morbius Minute and the Office version still going to happen at some point? I am trying to get the Morbius Minute off the ground. All right. Ray is very, like, you guys may not know this. Ray is very, very shy about being on camera. And I'm having a hard time convincing him to do Morbius Minute. The Office version is 100% happening. We have a deal in place. We have some sponsorship for it. And the Office version is going to get rolling in March. So March is when we're actually going to start recording episodes of the Office version in the next week or two. We had already recorded the first pilot episode like a few months ago, but we're going to re-record it. And then we're going to start airing those in March. So that's when for those of you who don't know what the Office version is, Ray has never, or Rob has never seen The Office. He's never seen it. So he is the Office virgin. So we thought it would be fun to do a podcast going through all the episodes of The Office, and with somebody who has seen all of them like 4 or 5 times and somebody who has never seen them before. So yes, the Office virgin is coming. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Super Saiyan 13 who writes, one of two. Hey, John, love all your content. Like yourself, I love Star Wars. I've always had an issue with Vader's redemption. It never made sense to me that for killing all those younglings and billions on planets with the Death Star, it just took pushing the Palpatine to his death to be redeemed. Surely that never made up for all the bad stuff. Kylo was also an issue for me. Your thoughts? I mean, yeah, no, look, absolutely. And Robot Chicken and others have made big jokes about that. Like, did you guys ever see the Robot Chicken skit on that? It was, it was the whole idea about on the moon of Endor and everybody's celebrating the victory, and Vader shows up as a ghost, or Anakin shows up as a ghost, and Luke is like, what the hell is he doing here? Like all that kind of stuff. Like, you think doing all that just by doing, now listen, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker was not about pushing Palpatine to his death. It was about Anakin making a choice between the dark side and the light side. And it took his son and maybe even the thought of losing his son, again, the death of Luke, to make him make that choice. Now, had Anakin lived at the end of Return of the Jedi, let's say he didn't die, like he threw the Emperor down, but the injuries he sustained didn't kill him. Make no mistake about it, the Galactic Court would not have gone, oh, you turned good guy at the end. Okay, no problem. No. See, Anakin Skywalker still would have gone to prison for the rest of whatever life he had after that. I mean, so it was a moral redemption, right? It was a moral redemption. He wouldn't have been forgiven for all of his crimes. He still would have faced tribunals and still would have gone to galactic prison for the rest of his life. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea, I think the message of it is a good one, which is it's never too late to make a right choice, right? It's never too late to make a right choice. Let me give you an example of this. True story. I had a buddy of mine, really, really good friend of mine, and they had made a series of very, very bad choices pertaining to their marriage, pertaining to certain things they were doing and getting involved, like a lot of bad decisions. And I remember sitting down with him one time and saying, look, you did all this stuff, but it is never too late to make a right choice. Make one right choice. Just stop what you're doing for a minute, take a breath, and make one right choice. And in this situation, that right choice would be to do X. I know it seems like everything's gone too far and you've made too many screw-ups. I get it, but just start with making one right choice. And I think that's kind of part of the moral of Anakin Skywalker there, was that whoever you are, wherever you are, it doesn't mean you get scot-free from consequences, but it's never too late to make a right choice. And to me, that's part of the message of Anakin Skywalker. Again, Had he lived, he wouldn't have gotten to walk away free and say, oh, you're redeemed. No, there still would have been consequences to pay. But I do like the message of, hey, it's never too late to make the right choice. And at the end, he made the right choice. All right. Next up, Bobby Jackson writes, crazy how the world works. Disney initially firing Gunn may end up being the best thing to happen to Gunn, DC, and the health of the comic book movie industry as a whole. Time will tell. I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, if James Gunn had never gotten fired from Marvel as a result of which they never should have fired him, 10-year-old tweets. Anyway, but they did fire him. If they never fired him, we wouldn't have both of our major comic book movie studios in such a good place as we have them right now, right? The comic book industry has never been in better shape. We got great leadership in both spots now, and you're right. It is kind of funny the way it worked out. Something bad turned into something really good. Now, you're right. Time will tell. Let's see what happens in a couple of years once we get this Brave and the Bold movie and we get this Superman movie and we get this Swamp Thing. Let's see how it all turns out. But right now, I think things are in a really good place. Ironically, as a result of maybe one bad decision of them firing James Gunn in the first place. All right. Next up, Dr. Stinky writes, Ant-Man might become my favorite MCU film. I love sci-fi. Well, I mean, every movie that comes out could become your favorite movie, right? Every movie that is coming out could become your favorite movie. So Knock at the Cabin might become your favorite movie. Ant-Man might become your favorite movie. 80 for Brady might become your favorite movie. But yes, I mean, here's hoping that it's as good as maybe we're hearing that it is. All right. Next up, Fangblaze71 writes, looks like there won't be any ants in Ant-Man 3. Stupid small detail, I know, but they played a pretty big part in helping the team in the first two. True, it doesn't sound like there would be any ants in Ant-Man. That sounds weird to say, but it makes sense. They're going to the quantum realm. Listen, I'll tell you what, though. I am far more concerned about there being no Michael Pena than I am about there being no ants. Michael Pena was far more a part of Ant-Man and why I loved the Ant-Man stories than the ants were. So yeah, it's weird that there's going to be no ants in Ant-Man, but I'm more concerned about there not being any Michael Pena. All right. Josh C98 writes, with the GOAT retiring, any Brady memories you'll remember fondly throughout his playing career? Still remember that insane late comeback against the Saints with 5 seconds left from the 2013 season. I mean, listen, any discussion about the greatest moments of Tom Brady's career has to be the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. Because what were they down? Help me out. I think they were down by 23. Guys in the live chat, can you confirm that for me? I think Tom Brady and the Patriots were down by 23 points. Going in the second half, 25. Yeah, they were down. It was 28-3. That's right. They were down by 25. Going into the second half, going in late in the game. And I still remember we were watching that game at the AMC offices, and we had a bunch of us there watching it, and JT was there. And we were watching the game there, and JT was a big Patriots fan. And watching that comeback was one of the craziest, insane things ever. See, this is the funny thing about Tom Brady. He has a career of moments that define him as the greatest of all time. But that comeback, 28-3 down, coming back to win the Super Bowl, and then he's won a couple more Super Bowls after that, was just insanity. Just insanity. That to me is the best one, the best moment they ever did or that they ever had. So I'm going to go with that one. And yet I still have no plans to go see 80 for Brady. I'm probably not going to go see that movie. All right. Next up, we got Miguel Zayn, who writes, hey y'all, have y'all seen any of Meta Canyon vids? If so, what are some of your favorites? I think they're creative in the most provocative and weird ways. Mine is Willy Wonka, FBI Raid, and Gordon Ramsay one. I have never, no offense intended to anybody. Many people have never heard of me. I have never heard of this. I've never heard of, not Meat Canyon. No, I've never personally heard of it, but thank you for putting that on the radar. All right, next up. Sasathan writes, one of the reasons for first Black Panther box office is also due to coming out before Infinity War. Black Panther was in both Infinity War trailers. No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I mean, because a lot of the MCU characters were already in Avengers movies and what have you. And yeah, that didn't really do a lot. So no, I don't think that's the case. Like, you could also, like, if that was the case, then Ant-Man and the Wasp should have made it made a good amount of money, right? Ant-Man and the Wasp, what did it end up making? Let me pull it up here for a second. That's the wrong spelling. Ant-Man and the Wasp box office. So Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't even make $700 million. It made $622 million. And Ant-Man was a big key player in Civil War. Right? He was a big key player in Civil War. And so, listen, every movie in the MCU benefits by being a part of the MCU, right? The MCU is this big monster franchise. So any movie in the MCU benefits as being a part of the MCU. So certainly Black Panther also is a beneficiary of being a part of the MCU, whether that was leading into Infinity War, coming out of Infinity War, or whatever. Sure, but I don't think any more than any other movie in the MCU. So was that a part of it? I guess, but no more than any other MCU movie being a part of the MCU is a part of it. At least that's the way I see it, at any rate. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, man. All right. Next up, we have Jesse the Savage, who writes, "It's my birthday today. Happy birthday, man. 25 years old. Damn. Anyways, been watching you for 10 years. Keep up the great work and also bring on the filthy." Well, thank you so much for that, dude. May you have a fabulous happy birthday, Jess, and may you have a fabulous year ahead of you as well. And thanks for spending some of your birthday here with us, man. I appreciate that, dude. All right. Next up, we got Eddie Burton, who writes, "Any thoughts on the Yellowstone Costner drama? Read he wants to film his scenes in just 1 week instead of 50 days like previously agreed upon." Here's the thing, Eddie. I would recommend, we talked about it at length on the John Campea Show earlier today. And so there's an entire segment of it. If you go onto our YouTube channel and you go into the videos tab, you'll see an entire segment right there of us just talking about the Costner Yellowstone drama, my feelings on it. To sum up quickly, as a big fan of Yellowstone, I'm really upset about it. But I'm not upset at Paramount or Taylor Sheridan because they got to do what they got to do. And I'm not really upset at Kevin Costner either because he's only got so much more time before he retires in his career. And he still has films he wants to make and other projects he wants to do. And he's done this show for 5 seasons already. So, but again, a more full discussion available on our videos tab. Go in there and check it out. We talked about it just this morning. All right. But yeah, it's a huge piece of news, Eddie. Huge piece of news. Amin writes, "Imagine if Avatar 2 came out like 5 years ago and was around 2.5 hours long. How much more do you think it could have made? Would it surpass 2.5 billion? I mean, that's making an assumption. The assumption you're making there is that it didn't make as much money today than it would have made a couple of years ago, prior to the pandemic. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, we seem to be in a spot right now, and you guys may disagree with me on this, but follow me here. We seem to be in a place right now where I believe blockbusters have returned, in the sense that the big movies that come out right now that everybody wants to see, everybody's going to go out and see. It wasn't necessarily that way a year ago, but today I think we are. And that's why we've had hits like Top Gun Maverick and whatever. Whereas it has not yet fully gotten back to then the next level down of blockbuster films. I think we're seeing recovery there. You know, Puss in Boots is a great example of that. Puss in Boots is a movie that's already closing in on, like, gone north of $300 million when it opened to, like, I don't know, $15 million or something like that. So it's getting there, but I don't know that Avatar would have made any more money if it came out a couple of years ago as opposed to today. Maybe there is a case to be made for that, but that's just kind of where my thoughts are right now. All right. Next up, we got Murray Reich, who writes, Just saw Plane, and I really enjoyed. Oh, the Gerard Butler movie, and I really enjoyed it. And Butler and Coulter were great. I love Mike Coulter. A very suspenseful film, lots of tension. Also saw Missing. It was very good. Yeah, I did not get around to seeing Plane, which is really weird for me because I'm a Gerard Butler guy. But for lots of different reasons, I just never got around to getting out to go see it. So I got to watch it still, but I've heard good things, Murray. I've heard good things about it. And I find that your taste in movies often will line up with mine. So I'm glad you really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it even more now. Thanks for that, man. I appreciate that. All right. Murray also writes, I also saw Knock at the Cabin. I was really disappointed by the film. Predictable, overall okay. I don't know. Was it? I wouldn't say it was predictable. I mean, there are times I was able to predict something that would happen in a movie, but that doesn't necessarily mean the movie was predictable. I mean, there's certain, we don't want to go into details, but there's certain things about a certain family member that I'm not so sure a lot of people would predict going into the movie. But maybe you were able to pick out a lot of the things. Yeah, I mean, listen, the story is a really, really interesting story. But I think we're going to talk about this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. I think there's a reality that Dave Bautista, and you guys know I'm a big Dave Bautista fan. I'm a big Dave Bautista fan. He has been very supportive of the stuff that we have done before. I love his attitude. I mean, sometimes he's not exhibited the best attitude, admittedly, but in general, you know, he's exhibited a really good attitude. He works really, really hard, and he's objectively gotten a lot better as the years progress. He just keeps getting better and better as an actor. But I think it might be fair to say at this point that Dave Bautista cannot be your main star in a movie. I think he has shown he has gotten very, very good at being fantastic supporting, playing fantastic supporting roles and being a fantastic supporting character. But when you look at things like Stuber or My Spy, or, you know, the guy who was headlined the most and featured the most in the trailers has been Dave Bautista for Knock at the Cabin. I think we are starting to see a pattern here that Dave Bautista can't be your main star. I think he can be an incredible asset to any movie as a supporting character. I mean, hell, just look at Glass Onion. He's great in that, and he helps elevate the movie, but I don't know if he can be the main star. Army of the Dead is another example of that. I mean, I liked Army of the Dead, but I mean, it didn't exactly tear up the box office, even with all the extenuating circumstances surrounding the release of the movie, because it was also going, you know, straight to streaming, but it had a bit of a theatrical release and it didn't have a huge response to it. I just don't know that. And not to mention, Army of the Dead was also a beneficiary of all the release the Snyder Cut noise that was going on at the time. So I just don't know that Dave can be the lead guy in a movie. I think he's got a great career ahead of him as a supporting character. I just don't know that he can be a lead. But I hope to be proven wrong about that. All right. CJ wrote, I know the rights might make it tricky, but I'd love to see Spider-Man pop up in an MCU show / movie, but he keeps his mask on the entire time. I'd love to see them play with his secret identity this way. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man's a great character, and I particularly love Tom Holland in the role. I think he's great in it, but I don't really feel the need to see Spider-Man popping up in a bunch of stuff. I am very much looking forward to seeing the next Spider-Man movie, like whatever that's going to be. And certainly love seeing him participate in the big, you know, ensemble movies like Civil War or an Avengers movie or stuff like that. Absolutely. But I don't really feel the need to see Spider-Man pop in a lot of stuff. If anything, it'll just take away from whoever's movie that's supposed to be. And you're right. The rights become an issue. The rights definitely become an issue. But I also say this, I don't know that I'm interested in watching a Spider-Man movie without seeing Tom Holland. I think you got to see Peter Parker as much as you need to see Spider-Man. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I feel about it right now. Thanks for writing that in, CJ. All right. Next up, Dean Cook writes, good day, John. Greetings from Australia. Well, greeting. I've been wondering for the past 6 months, what happened to Disneyland to stop you going? Well, I'm not going to go into it all again. Just sufficient. I've told the story ad nauseum many times on the show at length. The basic thing is this: they rip me off. Disneyland ripped me off. And when you rip me off of money, I stay bitter, very angry and bitter. I hold on to my bitterness for a very, very long time. And yeah, so I mean, I'm sure you can find it somewhere on my YouTube channel where I've gone at length about it, but yeah, I won't go into the full 15-minute spiel about it again here, but that's the Coles Notes of it right there. All right. CJ writes, with news of the brave and the bold, I think Jake Gyllenhaal would be awesome as a Batman and father figure character. X-actor and X-role. I mean, the reality is we don't know how they're going to write Batman, and therefore we don't know if Jake Gyllenhaal would actually be a good choice for it or not. He might be the absolute worst choice for all we know. All I ever care about is a good actor. There are many, many, many good actors out there who would be wonderful as Batman, and if they selected Jake Gyllenhaal, which, by the way, I thought there was a chance Jake Gyllenhaal could have become Batman when they cast Ben Affleck. And there were definitely stories about him being in talks to maybe be Batman. And listen, Jake Gyllenhaal's a terrific actor. But until I know what kind of Batman they're going for, because Keaton's Batman was different than Clooney's Batman, was different than Val Kilmer's Batman, was different than Ben Affleck's Batman. I mean, they're all different iterations, and it depends on how they write the next Batman. I mean, so we can't really say Jake Gyllenhaal would be a great choice because we just don't know. But if they announced him as Batman, sign me up. He's a fantastic actor. I think he's great, but I don't know if he's the right guy to do it or not. And I won't know that until, we see what sort of iteration of Batman that they have in mind. All right. Next up, Slick Nick writes, I'm rewatching all of Christopher Nolan's movies. Nice. To get ready for Oppenheimer. What is your favorite Christopher Nolan movie? My favorite Christopher Nolan movie is Insomnia. Don't get me wrong. I love The Dark Knight. Inception is fantastic. The Prestige, right up until the last 10 minutes. The Prestige is wonderful. I like all Christopher Nolan movies. Even Tenet, which was like kind of discombobulating, but I even like Tenet. I love Christopher Nolan movies, but for me, my personal favorite is Insomnia. If you have not checked that out, that's my favorite movie of his. All right. Next up. Where do we go? There we go. Slick Nick also writes, my top 3 is The Dark Knight, The Prestige, and Inception. Those are 3 great ones. Again, The Prestige is one that always, man, that's one of these movies that I love that movie. And then the ending almost ruins it. It doesn't ruin it. It almost ruins it. Like, it's a terrible ending. But the rest of the movie to me is so freaking brilliant. I give the ending a pass. You know what I mean? All right. Let's see here. Just a Sub sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Just a Sub, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that. He writes, I'll be honest, John. I used to be one of those people that used to get upset about things like race and gender swaps. Watching you and the crew has helped me realize how insignificant those changes truly are. Thank you. That takes a huge person to say that, Just a Sub. Thank you for saying that. That's a huge thing. I will never understand people getting upset by race or gender swaps. I'll never understand. I like gender swaps a little bit more. I mean, I get that one, even though I don't agree, but I get that one a little bit. Although here's the thing, like one of my all-time favorite TV characters was a gender swapped character. It was Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica, because the original Starbuck, played by Dirk Benedict, in the original Battlestar Galactica, got swapped out for a female character, to be a female character. And that female character, Starbuck, is one of my favorite characters of all time. But the race one is the one that really gets me, because there are many physical differences that we all have, and that characters have in movies as opposed to the way their characters were before or whatever, right? And I don't understand why, like, let's put it this way. I don't hear anybody complaining anymore that Hugh Jackman is like 6'3", or however tall Hugh Jackman is, as compared to what Wolverine is supposed to be, which is like, what, 5'1" or something like that. 5'1", 5 foot tall, 4'11". Can't remember exactly how tall he's supposed to be. Wolverine's supposed to be short. This very short guy. So that's a physical difference. And I don't hear anybody complaining about that these days. I don't hear anybody complaining about that these days. But, so everybody's like, oh yeah, that's a pass. Or, in the comic books, this character had this color eyes, and the actor they got has that color eyes. Okay, nobody makes a big deal of that. The eye color is different. Who cares, right? And so we should. Who cares? But if the pigmentation tone of their skin is different from the pigmentation tone of the skin of somebody else who played the role before or what they were in some work of fiction. The sky is falling. They cry and they weep and they scream and they moan. It's like, well, why don't you get upset that the height difference is different between this actor and what that character is in fiction? Oh, because who cares? It's just height. That's a physical difference. Why do we care if the shade of their skin, that changes everything. Fuck you. I'll never get it. Look, at the end of the day, 95% of characters in fiction, not 100%, but 95% of characters in fiction, the tone of their skin has nothing to do with the core essential elements of who the character is. There are a couple that are exceptions. Black Panther is clearly an exception. I believe Batman is an exception. I think Batman, being a Bruce Wayne who grows up surrounded, benefiting from white privilege his whole life, I think that's a pretty key essential core to the character of who Bruce Wayne is. So about 5% of characters, I think their ethnicity is actually an important part of who and what they are. 95% of characters in fiction means nothing. The Superman one is the one especially that interests me because that one I find particularly absurd, that argument about Superman. Because you do realize, of course, Superman is not Caucasian. Like you do realize that, right? Like that Superman isn't Caucasian. Superman is an alien entity from another galaxy with completely different biology than ours. Now, it just so happens that his appearance happens to be similar to that of a Caucasian Earthling, but that coincidence is nothing to do with the core essential elements of who Superman is. And that's always one that interests me a lot. And that's probably one I'll be talking about for the rest of my career. It talks about being there a black Superman. Okay. So this alien organism with a different biology than we have, who's from a completely different galaxy, doesn't look Caucasian. That's important. That's the important thing. Really? Anyway, that's just my thing. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Just Sub, and I appreciate you saying that, man. All right. Next up, we've got CJ who writes, I think future Harry Potter movies that don't involve the main cast could be successful as long as they stick to Hogwarts. I think that's where the magic of the franchise really is. What do you think? No, so I disagree and also agree, CJ. I think most of the magic of most stories are rooted in the characters, right? Characters make up stories. And I think the real magic of the Harry Potter franchise comes from those core characters that we know and love. Now, that being said, I also agree with you that a future Harry Potter movie that doesn't involve the main core cast, but still centers on Hogwarts, whether that's set 300 years in the past or 20 years in the future or whatever, I think that movie has a greater chance of success because it's something we are all familiar with, right? All Harry Potter fans know and love Hogwarts. Hogwarts, in a way, was a living, breathing character of the Harry Potter movies. So while I think the real magic of Harry Potter lies in the characters, Ron, Harry, Hermione, and some of the auxiliary characters as well, Neville and whoever else. But if you were to do one without the main cast and you focus it around Hogwarts, yeah, I think that has a better chance than, say, something else in the wizarding world that isn't connected to Hogwarts. It's one of the reasons why, we've got that Hogwarts Legacy game coming out. And by the way, we are going to do a play and chat of Hogwarts Legacy on Monday. So make sure you join us for that Monday afternoon. We're going to be doing a little play and chat with Hogwarts Legacy. But if they were to put out a Fantastic Beasts video game and put out a Hogwarts Legacy video game, people know Hogwarts. And I think that Hogwarts game will triple the sales of a Newt Scamander video game, for example. And so, yeah, I think the real magic's the characters, but I agree with you that centering it on Hogwarts would increase the chances of its success. All right. Thanks a lot for that, CJ. CJ Rebirth writes, got my tickets for the event next Sunday. So excited. I'm so excited too. I'm so glad you're coming. We actually, see if I can pull it up here. There it is. You can't see the whole poster, but of course, this Sunday, by the way, the tickets are now down to the single digits. I think I just looked at the sales numbers of the event's tickets before we started the show, and it's down into the single digits. I think there's like 7 tickets left. So we're going to be sold out by the end of the day. But hey, if you guys want to come see a live show with me, Harloff, and Greg Alba from Real Rejects, make sure you go get those tickets, but get them fast because they are literally down to single digits, the ones that we have left. All right, good. Looking forward to seeing you there, CJ. All right, Cash writes, 1 of 3. As I've said, Knock at the Cabin was fantastic, but it's worth seeing for the performances alone. Bautista, Ben Aldridge, and Jonathan Groff killed it. The movie engages with ongoing discourse our society is having, like in very smart, subtle ways, and uses your expectations against you. M. Night truly turned in a great film. Hope you like it. It's been really interesting to see the resurgence of M. Night, because M. Night went from, I think it was Time Magazine, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the live chat, but I think it was Time Magazine that had him on the cover, M. Night Shyamalan on the cover with the next Spielberg. Remember that? Yeah, that wasn't premature. But it wasn't that long ago that happened. And then we had things like The Lady in the Water, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. And it had, damn it, what was the name of that one with Mark Wahlberg where the trees came to life? The Happening? Was that it? The Happening? And there was The Happening. And then there was, and just a couple of others. And just all of a sudden, M. Night became a laughingstock. I remember being at a theater and them playing the trailer for, I think it was called The Devil. You guys remember that movie where it's like a bunch of people trapped in an elevator and it turns out one of them in the elevator is actually Satan, is actually the devil. They just don't know which one it is. But anyway, it was called Devil, not The Devil. It's called Devil. Thank you, Jake Clark, in the live chat there. So I remember being in a theater and the trailer for that started. This is when I knew that the Sham Hammer was gone. Because we're watching the trailer for Devil. And it's an all right looking trailer. And I like the movie personally. Not great, but it's good. I like it. And then near the end of the trailer, from producer M. Night Shyamalan, and the whole theater broke out in laughter. Like everybody was like, they started laughing. I remember thinking, oh, well, he's gone. But it's been really cool to see the resurgence of M. Night, which started, in my opinion, with The Visit. That had Catherine Hahn in it too, with The Visit. The Visit's a really nice little movie. It's a nice little creepy movie. If you haven't seen it, I do suggest you check it out. And then he had Split, which I think Split came after The Visit. I think it did. Anyway, Split was really good. I didn't like Glass. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like Glass, but that's fine. But it's been really neat to see him kind of making his return. And I always love seeing good redemption stories, man. I really do. All right. Next up, We got Big Mouth Stan who writes, I'm not saying Superman Legacy has to make $1 billion, but if it doesn't make more than Man of Steel's $668 million box office, is it considered a failure? No. If it makes $300 million, it's considered a failure. Remember, Man of Steel was not... there were several things that went into Man of Steel that got it its undeserved reputation of being a failure. The box office returns for Man of Steel were okay. Like, especially considering that by the time Man of Steel came out, comic book movies were making $1 billion. So Superman being the granddaddy of all superheroes, you would think it could do better than $668 million. But still, that wasn't a bad result. $668 million was pretty good. The problem was that it was very badly, unjustifiably, in my opinion, but it was very badly received, which still, I don't get that. That movie's a masterpiece in my opinion, but whatever. It was very badly received. And then future films with Henry Cavill's Superman in it all underperformed. They all underperformed. And it was that. So, like, it's not like the Man of Steel $668 million was something that was a standalone issue, that was the one thing. So if Superman Legacy comes out and let's say makes exactly $668 million, but it's well received and the audience likes it and the critics like it, and it gets some positive buzz and word of mouth going to the point that the next movie that Superman appears in, people are actually looking forward to and whatever, then no, the next one can make $668 million and that's perfectly fine. I mean, listen, the movie could make $800 million and be considered a big disappointment if people hated it. Like maybe it's a movie that has the greatest trailers in the world and gets everybody to come out and see it, but it lets people down. The audiences don't like it. The critics don't like it and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's great that it make out $800 million, but if people aren't going to be excited about coming back to the movie theater to see this Superman again in future movies, that's a problem. So no, if the next Superman movie, Superman Legacy, let's say makes $668 million, I think that's fine. It's not great, but it's fine as long as it's received well and creates a path forward of potential success. That's going to be the key. And whether or not they do that, we'll have to find out. All right. Thanks for writing that in. Good question, man. All right. Big Mouth Stan writes in again and writes, I just watched Uncut Gems, and controversial take, but I like Adam Sandler in dramatic roles more than his comedic roles. Thoughts? I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that ever since he had a movie called Reign Over Me that he did a bunch of years ago. And it's a movie I really thought, like legitimately thought he should have gotten an Academy Award nomination for. He was fantastic in that. And that's the one that really made me go, he is such a naturally gifted dramatic actor. I 100%. So I've been saying for a while, I think Adam Sandler should ditch the comedy and stick to drama because I think he is a better, as great as his career has been, as he's had great success as comedy. We were just talking about Waterboy earlier today. I love Waterboy, Happy Gilmore, whatever. I think he is a better dramatic actor than he is even in comedy. I think he should focus on drama. I think he can get an Academy Award in the next couple of years if he just focuses on drama. At least that's what I think. All right. Avery 1257 writes, John, have you ever heard of the show Slow Horses? Yeah, that's the Sirius Black, Gary Oldman. That is the Gary Oldman show, right? Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I have never watched it, though. I've heard really good things about it, but I've never watched it. I got to get around to watching it one of these days. All right, Al Renshaw writes, with Catherine Newton and Justice Smith being in properties like Ant-Man and Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, I could see Detective Pikachu 2 doing better. Yeah, no. I mean, I could see Detective Pikachu doing better if it's marketed well and the trailers look good. Let's be honest here. Justice Smith is not a big superstar name, right? Catherine Newton is not a big superstar name. They are not names that are going to drag people out to the theater, right? Not like an Anya Taylor-Joy right now, or a Tom Cruise, or a, whatever. They're not big names they're going to draw in. But if it can still do better, it'll just do better because the property looks good and the movie looks good and people who remember the first one fondly. Although I didn't think the first one was great. I thought it was okay. I thought the first Detective Pikachu was okay, but it didn't live up to the potential. The trailers were great. I really like the trailers, but it didn't live up to that potential. But I think they can improve on that if they do a Detective Pikachu 2. So fingers crossed. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Alresh also writes, do you have any weird food combos that you love? Well, I love, like I said, mozzarella sticks with sour cream. I mean, everything else is pretty straightforward about foods that I really like. I'm a very simple eater. But the one that people look at me weirdly about is my mozzarella sticks with sour cream. Trust me, you'll never go back. Like, put the marinara sauce aside, have mozzarella sticks with sour cream, you'll never go back. All right. Next up, John Redcorn writes, Puss in Boots opening weekend was 12 million. I was just talking about this. It made 370 million so far. Legs are incredible. Do you think it beats Black Adam's 393 million? It's going to be difficult at this point because it's been out for so long. And the fact that it's available on video on demand right now, it's going to make it tough to make another $23 million. But, you know, it got a little bit of a boost from the Oscar nomination. I thought the movie was absolutely delightful. And I love the fact that it's having this kind of success. I'm really, really happy it's having this kind of success. All right. Avery writes, John, any advice for an aspiring producer? No. It's not like I'm a successful Hollywood producer. I'm not the right guy to ask. Just be discerning about what it is you get involved in and what it is you don't. That's the best advice I have. Daniel Vasquez writes, can't wait for my first CinemaCon. How many minutes should I come to stay in line before the doors open for the studio's preparation? You probably mean presentation. So you're going to CinemaCon. You were able to get past it. Fantastic. I love CinemaCon. It's my favorite event of the year, more than Comic-Con, more than anything else. CinemaCon is my favorite event every year that I go to. And we're going in April. We're going to go in April. No, listen, the CinemaCon is held in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and it's in the Celine Dion Theater that holds well over 5,000 people. You don't have to worry about getting in line early. You really don't. I mean, people do start lining up, and usually it's about 15 minutes before the presentation starts. But the place is so big, you really don't have to worry about it. So I'd say, a good 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you should be good. That would be my guess at any rate. All right. That's normally how much time we usually give it. It's about 15, 20 minutes. All right. And have a good time, Daniel. I think you'll have a really good time. Matt Fitch sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Matt, for supporting us on that level, man. Matt writes, so I heard something today that made me very happy. Some reports indicate that The Last of Us Part 3 is currently in progress. Part 2 is a masterpiece. It absolutely is. And if done right, this has the potential to be one of the greatest trilogies of storytelling. At least as far as video games go. Like, the first two Last of Us are already the two greatest stories ever told in video games. All due respect to God of War, which I love the story in that. All due respect to Red Dead and all due respect to that. The two greatest stories ever told in video games, in my opinion, are The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2, I think, being even better than Part 1. So, I mean, you got to do a Part 3, right? You have to do a Part 3. I mean, especially with all the success that the TV series is having. I mean, to not do Part 3 would be unimaginable at this point. You got to do it. You just got to hop on that right now. So, can they live up to the stories of the first two, though? That's a challenge because the bar is very, very high. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I am very much looking forward to a third one. If the reports are indeed true, and we haven't heard any official confirmation about it being true or not. But if it is, I think we got some awesome storytelling ahead of us. All right. Next up is Moda Awesome, who writes, no question, just recovering from surgery. Oh, yeah, I remember you writing in the other day, mentioning you were going to be having some surgery there. And sending support and positive vibes. Thanks to all that you and the team does. Oh, thank you so much, Moda Awesome. You have a quick recovery. I know, I've been there, recovering in the hospital after surgery. No fun, often quite boring. I'm glad we're able to be here with you as you're doing that and hopefully keep you a little bit entertained at the same time. So have a great rest of your recovery, man. All right. Big Mouth Stan writes, with the MCU getting so crowded, do you think eventually they'll have to do the Infinity War route where some heroes get dusted to thin the roster? No. I mean, you just literally don't have to tell their stories. I mean, you don't have to kill off of other people to thin the roster. I mean, it gives you the opportunity to have some dramatic play by killing off characters, but it's like when's the last time we saw, let me think about this for a minute. Like, you can just literally have a character, theoretically speaking, what the hell is Hulk's girl? Why am I freezing on Hulk's girlfriend's name again? What's Bruce's, Thunderbolt Ross's daughter? Why am I freezing on the character's name? Liv Tyler played her before. Jennifer played her before. Well, come on, guys, help me out in the live chat. What's the character's name? Betty Ross. That's right. I came up with it before David D wrote it in, but David D, thank you for writing that in. Warrior wrote it in. A whole bunch of people. So Betty Ross is in the MCU. Remember, the Ed Norton Hulk movie is MCU. A lot of people forget that. The Ed Norton Hulk, they just changed actors, but that's the Hulk, right? That's the same Hulk from that movie is the one that we have today. So understanding that, Betty Ross is in the MCU, and that's right. Somebody in the live chat just wrote that Betty Ross was also in What If. That's what Colonel Sanders wrote, that she's also in What If, right? So Betty Ross is in the MCU. How often do we see her? Never. We never see her. I mean, she popped up in What If, but okay, we never see her. So you can have characters, lots of characters that are in the MCU, and we just never see them, right? So yeah, you don't need to kill a bunch of them off, but it does open the opportunity to do that if you want to do so for dramatic purposes. Okay. Guys, with that down, we've been going for almost an hour here. So we are going to take just a short break. I'm going to go refill my drink, rest up my voice for just a moment, and give you guys a chance to talk amongst yourselves. We'll be gone for about 1 minute and 15 seconds. And guys, in the meantime, we want to thank one of the sponsors of our video here today. Thank heavens for our sponsors. They make our shows possible. Our friends over at Rocket Money. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. And a big thanks to our friends at Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode of Open Mic and John's Ask Me Anything. All right, guys, with that down, let's get back into it here, shall we? The next question up comes to us from, there's Big Mouth Stan. John Schultz writes, any update on we'll be getting the new name? No. We ran into some roadblocks, not copyright or anything like that. Some people are speculating that, but we ran into a couple of roadblocks about our name change. We are at some point going to be changing the name of the show and the network and all that kind of stuff, but we don't have an update right now. And I will keep you guys updated when there are updates to be given, but for at least the next couple of months, everything is staying the same. It's going to be called, the YouTube channel is just going to be called the John Campea YouTube channel. The main show is just going to be called the John Campea Show. I will update when there are updates to be given, but thanks for asking the question, Jonathan. All right. Next up, Al Renshaw writes, Puss in Boots is great. Keeps making more money. Yes, it does. Now it is running out of steam now. It got a little bit of a boost from the Oscar nomination, and heavens, if it wins the Oscar, they might get another theatrical re-release and maybe get another push as well. I love that movie. I really, really do. All right. Next up. I think it's my second favorite animated movie of the year, actually. Turning Red, I still think is hands down the best animated movie of the year. Next up to me would be Puss in Boots. I'm not as big of a fan. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan, but I'll be honest with you. I know Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is the movie you're supposed to vote for. I know it's totally an Academy kind of movie. I get it, but I after the first 15 minutes, which I loved the first 15 minutes. I didn't love the rest of it. It had a lot of good things in it, and I liked the movie. To me, Turning Red is easily the best movie of the year, animated movie of the year, and I think Puss in Boots is a close second. But that's just me. I know I'm in the minority on that, though. Totally know that I am. All right. Next up, we've got John Redcorn, who writes, "We'll never know, but if Black Adam made $1 billion, I think The Rock would have a lot of power in DC." No, he wouldn't. Or someone from his team runs DC Studios. Absolutely not. Thoughts? No. Because if that was the case, then Jason Momoa would already have had a lot of power at DC, and he didn't. Or one of Jason Momoa's team would have been running DC, which they didn't. I think some things would have turned out a little bit differently, but one movie making $1 billion, no. That wouldn't have changed David Zaslav's plans or anything like that. I think at most, what it would have meant was that James Gunn and Peter Safran, remember, I think they had been picked to run this film for a long time, and they are much better choices than anybody from Dwayne Johnson's team. And I love, Dwayne Johnson is my second favorite movie star. After Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson's my second favorite movie star. I love The Rock. Love him. But the only thing that would have changed if Black Adam made $1 billion, I believe, was that in the new reset DC universe, they would have found a place for Black Adam. Even if it's a reset Black Adam. I think there would have been a place for Dwayne Johnson and Black Adam in it, but it didn't make $1 billion. It lost the money. I think, honestly, one of the most interesting stories in movies is the story of what happened to Black Adam after 15 years of trying to get that movie put together. But no, even if it had made $1 billion. Now, $2 billion, maybe the conversation changes. But if it had made $1 billion, no, it really wouldn't have changed much. I don't think so. Some minor changes, but I don't think much. All right. Next up here, we got Jonathan Schultz, who writes, one stays, one goes, Nolan or Denis Villeneuve. No, I'm not going to play that. They're both absolute masters, and I will not pick between the two of them. They're both incredible. They're both at the height of their games right now, too. All right, Dr. Bright writes, "Hey, John, good to see you as always." Thank you so much, Dr. Bright. "Have you ever been to, or do you want to go to CES? I have been to CES before. It's a convention like Comic-Con, but for tech. It's actually much bigger than Comic-Con. It's actually significantly bigger than Comic-Con. It's all about, CES stands for the Consumer Electronics Show. For those of you who don't know, that's CES. And it's one of the biggest events of the year. Happens in Vegas. I have been to it once. It's really great. Now, I prefer another event that happens in Vegas every year. It's called NAB, N-A-B, the National Association of Broadcasters. I think that's what NAB stands for. Anyway, because, well, CES covers all kinds of consumer electronics. NAB focuses on cameras, switchers, lighting, software, like stuff used for producing content, right? It's specifically technology surrounding producing content. And that makes it much more my speed. So yeah, I've been to CES. CES is great, but I really do prefer NAB. That's where I've discovered some of the stuff that I use today. And I always discover the newest stuff coming down. But I love NAB. Me and Dennis Zen have gone a couple of times. And I always look forward to NAB. Not as much as I look forward to CinemaCon. But yeah, so for me, who's more kind of focused in what I do, NAB is a little bit of a better bang for your buck than even CES is. But CES is great. All right. Jonathan Schultz writes, "Do you think Kang makes it out of the quantum realm?" I think Kang makes it out of the quantum realm, or maybe this Kang does not, but the Kang dynasty is another version. Remember, there's going to be multiple Kangs. So I'm You know what? I'm going to guess that this Kang doesn't get out of the quantum realm, but another one does. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I have no insider information. That's just me guessing. We'll find out. All right. Let's see. Moxie Cat writes, "Hey, John, have you played poker with the WPT?" So there are two main poker leagues, I guess you could say, like, just like, you know, you have WWE and you have AEW. So in poker, there's two major tours. Actually, there's several tours, but the two major tours are the World Series of Poker, the WSOP, and the WPT, the World Poker Tour. The WPT just had their World Championships at the Wynn Las Vegas. It was a huge, like $10 million or $12 million first prize or something like that. It's crazy. I have actually never played in a WPT event. I've played in several WSOP, World Series of Poker events, but I've never played in a WPT event. I would like to sometime. I'll be honest. I actually haven't played any poker tournaments in like a year. Like in the last couple of years, I used to play a lot of poker tournaments, but the last number of years, my poker has mostly consisted of just going and playing cash games. Actually, can I show you guys something? Just a little something. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to. Just give me a second here. Let me see if I can do this. First of all, I don't think I can. Oh yeah, I can. So, I went. Oh, is it going to let me do this? I'm not sure if it is. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Oh, I can't show it to you. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to be able to show it to you unless I can figure out a way to do this. Nah, okay, maybe it's just as well. I had a very, very good night of poker a few weeks ago. I had a very good night of poker. And, you know, let me see if I can do this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but if I bring up my pip shot, and let me see if I can change that. I'm not sure I can. Is there a photo thing here? This is exhilarating television. I know that you guys are watching right now. I can't find what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel that. But I was going to show you a picture. I have a picture of my stack from the other night. I had a one of the best nights of poker I think I had ever had. I went and played at the Lake Elsinore. I don't often play at the Lake Elsinore casino, but I usually go out to play poker in Palm Springs. I think I go and play maybe 3 times a month. I'll go and play poker. And I had the best night of poker I think I've ever had. I walked away a little over $5,000 up, which for some people is nothing. Like for some people, blah, you know, I paid $5,000 for my parking today. No big deal. Yeah. But for me, it like was my biggest night I've ever had. Now I usually walk away. I'm actually pretty good where I play. I mean, I'm not playing at the Bellagio or anything in Las Vegas, but I always do pretty good playing poker. I'll walk away, you know, with like up $400, up $1,000, up something, whatever. But just last weekend, everything ran right. Everything, I won a couple of coin tosses. Everything just went really good. And it was my best night of poker ever. Had a really, really good time. All right. Anyway, enough of that. Sorry. I just got to share a little bit of my giddiness there. Let's see. Where are we at here? I lost my place, unfortunately. Let me see if I can get our place back here. We did Dr. Bright, Quantum Realm, played poker. Okay. We are up to Parker now. Parker writes, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped are you for Quantum Mania? 7, which is excited. I'm excited for it. I am. I just don't think the marketing's been all that great. I would say that my excitement has been a 6. Seeing the positive the overwhelmingly positive reactions coming out of it has increased my excitement from a 6 to a 7, which is good. I mean, 7 is good. So I would say a 7. I'm not going out of my mind crazy excited for it, like I will be for, say, the next Deadpool, or I will be for, say, the next episode of The Last of Us, but a 7, a solid 7. All right. Next up, Fangblaze71 writes, what's been your favorite MCU movie trailer in the last few years? For me, it's got to be Guardians 3 trailer. I like the Guardians 3 trailer. I can't remember. I honestly, I can't remember. I think the Guardians 3 trailer was good. Don't get me wrong. I like that trailer. It's good. I don't know which one would have been better. I'm sure. I don't know which one I like the most over the last couple of few years. I mean, yeah, Infinity War, people saying I can fit. Yeah, but that's years ago. I mean, I think like in the last 2 to 3 years, I mean, I certainly love the one Eternals trailer. The one Eternals trailer was fantastic. I know. I think the best Marvel trailer the last few years, just the last couple of years, is the one for Multiverse of Madness. The one where we see Wanda just wrecking shop, like crushing some Ultron bot skulls and all that kind of stuff. You see her blood-covered face. Yes. Now, whatever you think about how Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness turned out, I like that movie. Not one of my favorite MCU films, but I like Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness. But the trailer for that one trailer with Wanda, like the blood covering her face, like you break the rules and you're a hero. I break the rules and I'm the bad guy or whatever. That doesn't seem fair. Like that. Oh my God, she's so good in that. That is the best Marvel trailer the last couple of years, at any rate. All right. Next up, let's see. Al Renshaw writes, Aaron/Chris viewing party, The Descent coming. No, that is no longer happening. Aaron, of course, as I've mentioned, is no longer with us. Aaron is, her and Tom and little baby Tommy have made the decision that they are going to be moving to New York State. And we are going to miss them a lot. And now they're not moving for another couple of months, but it's also pilot season right now, which is always Aaron's busiest time of the year. So last week was Aaron's last show with us. I'm sure she'll pop in maybe once, maybe twice before her and Tom move. But yeah, unfortunately, that Descent screening I've been dying to do with her and Chris is probably off the books. That is probably off the books, which really sucks. But it is what it is. All right. Next up, we've got Alvaro. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name, but Alvaro writes, hey, is the channel going to cover Secret Invasion when you and Rob have seen scripts? Will there be an after show and will you speculate? Thanks. It'll kind of be the same way that we do the after show for The Last of Us. Like, we don't speculate. Like, look, we know the story of Last of Us, right? So when we talk about The Last of Us on our Last of Us after show, we strictly focus on the episode, right? And we talk about the episode and all that kind of stuff. We don't talk about what's to come, even though we have a good idea about what's to come because I've watched the 12-hour cutscene movie of the game. Like, I know everything about the story of The Last of Us. So not only have I read the scripts to Secret Invasion, which, by the way, not from Rob, somebody else sent me the script to Secret Invasion, and I cross-referenced it with Rob, and Rob's like, yep, that's the same one I got too. So Rob and I separately got the scripts to Secret Invasion. I have also seen some of Secret Invasion, but I mean, not a ton, but I've seen a little bit, a few little things here and there about Secret Invasion. I don't know why people love sending me stuff. Whether it's images from Ant-Man or Spider-Man, as the case may be, or footage from this or that, people just seem to love to send me stuff. But we will cover it the same way that we do The Last of Us. We know what's coming in the story, but we don't talk about that. We just talk about the episode. And that is what we are going to do for Secret Invasion. I will tell you one little thing, though. Oh my, the end of episode 1. Everybody's going to be talking about the end of episode 1. That's all I will say for now. All right. Next up, we've got Ryan Markley writes, will you record the show with Greg and Christian? Nope. This is a live event and a live event only. Now here's the thing. If this event goes well, one of the big things we're going to be talking about on our big live event is we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. with an audience. Like, we're going to talk about the online movie world and everything, some generalities too, but we specifically are going to zero in on talk about the new Marvel film, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, if this event goes well, I'll let you in on a little secret here. We will be doing more of these for other big movies coming out. So, for example, it's not only going to be Marvel movies, but just for example, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So if this event that we're going to do next Sunday, if it goes well, and we think we had a good time, and we think the audience had a good time, and all this kind of stuff, then what we're maybe I'm telling you stuff I shouldn't be telling you, but the idea is, if it goes well, and that's a huge if, then we will do it again for other big movies that come out, and we will travel around with it. Like, this one's in LA. Maybe we do a Guardians of the Galaxy one in New York, or maybe we do it in St. Louis or Chicago or Toronto or wherever, right? And so the idea would be we would tour it around and make it virtually available. So like, if you wanted to also stream it, it would be like a pay-per-view thing. So, pay $100 and you get to watch a stream of it. Obviously, it would be probably closer to $5, not $100. I'm just saying, you'd probably be able to do, we'll probably stream it. Now, again, but this first event that we're doing, it's not going to be streamed. If we do stream it, it will only probably be to our channel members, and it'll just be like literally Jonathan Voico streaming from his phone. It'll probably like no production value. It'll probably be like literally Jonathan just getting his phone on a selfie stick and like pointing it at the stage and streaming it maybe to our channel members. I don't know. But again, this one is kind of more like just a test run. And we'll see how it goes. And if we talk to the audience afterwards and the audience goes, that wasn't that much fun, then we probably won't do it anymore. But if the audience has a good time and we have a good time, then we will do more of them moving forward. Me, Greg, and Christian love hanging out. We love the idea of doing this stuff together. We've been talking with each other. It's like, one of the big reasons we're even doing this is just because we think it's going to be a lot of fun to do something like this together. We've been looking for something to do together like this. So if it works out, more stuff. If not, then we won't do any more again. It's so funny. Did you hear the little bing? I literally just got a text message from Alba. What is he saying? There he is. Yeah, Alba. I'm not even. He's not watching the live stream. I'm not kidding. Just as I'm talking about Greg Alba just text messaged me. Anyway, okay, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Callum, who writes, John, did you see that Dexter New Blood Season 2 with Harrison is happening? And do you think Michael C. Hall should come back for it in a good way? I mean, yeah, we talked about this the other day because they've done a couple things. One, they're doing a Dexter New Blood Season 2, which I honestly think is a bad idea. I have very little interest in that. And they're also doing a Dexter prequel series about the younger years of Dexter as he's growing up and learning that he's figuring out that he himself is a serial killer, and it's going to tell stories of other serial killers too. I'm more interested in that one. That one's got me intrigued. But even then, I like Michael C. Hall. I like Dexter, right? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, next up. We've got Ulatan, who writes, will Kang variant end up being Doctor Doom for Secret Wars? I don't think so. It seems weird to move from one pivotal villain to another without a normal phase build. Not at all. Not at all. I don't think that's it. Listen, we went into Star Wars having never seen Darth Vader, and boom, Darth Vader is there. And was the thing, we went into Die Hard, never having heard of Hans Gruber, and boom, Hans Gruber is there. This whole idea, I know there's a lot of film fans that believe this, Ulatan, that for you to have a great, compelling villain in something, you've got to have 3 movies to build up to him. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. No, you don't. The greatest, we didn't need a 4-film buildup for Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs. We didn't need a buildup for Hans Gruber. We didn't need a buildup for Chiwetel Ejiofor's The Operative. We didn't need, the greatest villains of all time come from non-franchise. You can easily introduce. Now, do I think Doctor Doom will be introduced prior to Secret Wars? Yes. But by the way, we don't even know that Doctor Doom is going to be in Secret Wars. But John, in the comics. Yeah, I know. But how often does Marvel deviate from the comics? A lot. And often. Right? So, but just getting back to the Doctor Doom part of it is, I do believe you can just bring in Doctor Doom and have him be the big bad of a film, even if he hadn't been in anything else before. 100% you can. Movie history is filled with that. There's no argument you can make that would say otherwise. That being said, I do believe we will get Doctor Doom before Secret Wars at any rate. Again, we're making a lot of assumptions at this point, to your core question, I do not believe, although I don't know this is true. I'm just telling you what I think. I could be way off about this. This is just me saying what I think. I do not think that a Kang variant ends up being Doctor Doom. I don't. Why do that? Why limit when there's a limited number of great villains in the world, right? Why would you waste one by merging two of them into one character? So Kang is Kang, Doctor Doom is Doctor Doom. So yeah, I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine. All right. Thanks a lot for writing that in, Uluftan. I'm very excited about that, by the way. All right, Jonathan Schultz writes, will there be a Mando Season 3 after show? 100% yes, there will be. Also, what's your favorite piece of geek nerd culture memorabilia? It's personal. One of my favorite things, look, little precursor to this. For those of you who watch me regularly, a couple of months ago, I made the decision that I've just kind of had it with the studios, and I just told all the studios, I started with Disney, but then I told all the rest of the studios, just take me off your press list. I'm not interested in going to press screenings anymore. I'm not interested in doing anything. Just take me off your press lists. Now, I still get, I've shown them on previous Ask Me, I still get, I don't know why, they still send me a ton of invitations, but I've told all the studios, take me off your press list. So I don't go to stuff anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have some really good memories of stuff. So I collect all of the world premiere badges that I've been to, right? And what my favorite thing I have, I think right now, there's two. One is the world premiere of The Force Awakens, because that to me was a bucket list thing. Going to a world premiere of a Star Wars movie in the Chinese theater where the original Star Wars had its world premiere. That's huge to me. So that badge I have is very special. But the one that I have that is really cool, and this just happened recently. I love Shang-Chi. I was at the premiere for Shang-Chi. And recently I had a chance at a convention to meet Simu Liu, who is of course from Kim's Convenience, and he is now Shang-Chi, and he's a good Canadian kid. And I brought my premiere badge from the Shang-Chi world premiere, and I had Simu Liu autograph my world premiere badge. And then what Anne did, I didn't know she was doing this. Anne took that and went and got it framed for me with a picture of me and Simu together. And for me, that is my favorite piece. I think that is my favorite piece of movie memorabilia I have. That was a lot of fun. I think that's my personal favorite thing. Other people may think some other stuff I have is better, but for me, that one's really, really special because I love the movie so much. He's a good Canadian kid. Put all that stuff together, and that's what makes my favorite piece of memorabilia that I own. All right. Thanks for that, Jonathan. Next up, Batman 11 writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Batman 11. And by the way, the system is telling me this is your first super chat ever. Thank you for writing in your first super chat, man. I appreciate that, Batman. Or Batmat 11 writes, hey, John, love the show. Watch every day. Thank you so much for that. You and the crew are awesome. Thoughts on how Yellowstone will do without Costner? Well, I mean, It's not going to be called Yellowstone. They're going to change the name. It's going to be a different show now, technically speaking. But I mean, 1883 did pretty good. 1923 has done pretty good, and those are without Costner. And Matthew McConaughey, listen, I want Yellowstone to continue with Kevin Costner, and maybe that still happens. But if Kevin Costner does move on and Yellowstone moves on without him, I'm still very, very interested in that world that they're created, and they're going to bring some of the characters over. And I think Matthew McConaughey, if you have to bring in somebody to kind of fill in the shoes of Kevin Costner's John Dutton character, Matthew McConaughey is a good guy to do it with. So I think it'll be fine. But we'll see. And by the way, nothing's official yet. So let's see how it all kind of transpires. All right. Thanks for that, Batman. Boone Lee Tan writes, have you checked with other offices who use Spectrum? Yeah, we found out that we are in a multi-unit building here at the John Campea Show. We are in a complex, not a big complex. We're in a complex, and there are several other offices in here, and they have experienced the same problems that we have. Now, the good thing for them is that they're not as reliant on the internet as we are. Like, they don't do 4 hours of streaming a day like we do. But yeah, they've had the same similar problems. Now, apparently Spectrum says they fixed the problem. So here's hoping they actually have. All right. Next up, Alan Ling writes, hey, John, is an all ladies show still a thing that you want to do? Or with Aaron gone, is it not a thing happening anymore? Just curious to ask. I very much want to do an all female show. I very, very much want to do that. I think like our space is kind of male dominated, and being male dominated means there's not enough female perspective given in our space. And I would love, if I could get the right people together, I would love to produce and put together an all female movie news show. I would love it. There are some challenges though, when it comes to that. One is there's not a lot of what I would qualify, and this is part of it being a systemic problem, because there's not a lot of stuff that's really geared towards women out there in our space. Not as many women are inspired to get involved in it. And since not as many women are inspired to get involved in it, there's fewer women's voices out there in our space, so you see the cycle, right? It's a systemic problem. It's a cycle. So there's not a lot of what I would consider really super highly qualified people that could do it and be in a show like that. And then some of them that there are because there are some notables that I'm sure you could mention, right? They're not available. And even if they were available to do a show like mine, it would cost me a fortune to get them. Like, yeah, I could get on the phone, Trisha Hirschberger, for example. I could get on the phone. I could probably talk to Trisha Hirschberger. She's fantastic. She's doing more tech stuff these days, but still, she knows the geek culture world as good as anybody. I could get on the phone with her and see if I can get her, and maybe she'd be available. Maybe by some miracle, Trisha Hirschberger could look at her schedule and say, you know what, as a matter of fact, I can be available one day a week to come in and do something like that. Great. Here's the problem. It would cost me a fortune because Trisha Hirschberger is in high demand for understandable reasons. She's very much in high demand. So I would not be able to afford her. So it's a lot of practical. Then on top of all of that, my studio is in Riverside, which is like minimum an hour drive away for any of the people who live in LA. So that becomes a problem. So I would love to do it. It's just not really feasible for me to be the one to do it. Somebody else is going to have to do it. Somebody else who ideally has deep pockets and ideally is in the LA area. So it'd be easier for them to put that together. Otherwise I would love to, but yeah, I don't have the money that I'd have to be able to pay for it. And cause it would be a lot of money. And I insist on the shows being done in studio. I'm not budging on that. That's 100% must. It has to be done in studio. And so I'm not in a position to do it right now. I wish I was. I wish I could, but I'm just not in a position that I could do it right now, unfortunately. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Parker writes, if somebody had told you 1 year ago that Black Adam would lose money and lead to Dwayne Johnson being let go, would you have believed them? No. I mean, listen, here's the thing. It wouldn't be the most unbelievable thing in the world because of two factors. Number one, the DCEU always underperformed. And number two, not everybody knows the Black Adam character. The Black Adam character is a lesser known character. Now, that doesn't automatically mean it can't be a huge hit. Nobody knew who Guardians of the Galaxy were, and that movie made over $700 million when it first came out. And nobody had ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy, at least not amongst the general movie-going audience. But because those two factors are there, the fact that 90% of the time the DCU underperforms, and the fact that nobody knows who Black Adam is, or not as many people know who Black Adam is. If somebody from the future had gone back to John 1 year ago and told me a year ago, John, I am from the future, Black Adam fails to make money and doesn't even hit $400 million, and Dwayne Johnson won't be Black Adam anymore after that, I would have gone, well, that's surprising, but I guess it's not the most unbelievable thing in the world. I mean, so yeah, I guess that's kind of how I still would have been surprised though. Definitely surprised. All right. Next up, Eden Aronovich. Eden Aronovich writes, I saw a couple of The Last of Us Episode 3 reviews when their critiques were that if you replace the gay romance with a straight one, then it's just a mediocre romance story. Your thoughts? Those were idiots. I have no idea. That is one of the most idiotic things you can say. Listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I believe that is an asinine point of view, because I don't care what you think about this. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. I am a little uncomfortable with gay romance in the stuff that I watch. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm all for it, but I would be disingenuous with you if I didn't tell you that, yeah, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable because that's not my thing. Listen, without a word of lie, if I'm in a breakfast restaurant and I even see somebody putting ketchup on eggs, it makes me want to vomit. I have no problem with that person putting ketchup on eggs. I think it's great if that person loves eating their ketchup on eggs. I will fight to the death for that person to have the right to have ketchup on their eggs. But if I'm being honest, it makes me a little uncomfortable watching people put ketchup on eggs, right? And if I'm being completely honest with you, gay romance on screen, particularly gay intimacy scenes, it makes me uncomfortable. It does. Doesn't mean I don't think it shouldn't be on TV or anything like that. Absolutely, it should be. It makes me a little uncomfortable. I tell you that to make the point that if I, who is a little uncomfortable with on-screen gay intimacy scenes, still found that to be one of the most compelling episodes of television I'd ever seen, and one of the most beautiful love stories I had ever seen. If you had swapped that out with a heterosexual couple, it still would have been the most beautiful love story I'd ever seen, except I wouldn't have been uncomfortable with the intimacy scene because I'm used to that, right? I'm a heterosexual male, so that's my gig right there. So So if somebody who is still a little bit uncomfortable with gay intimacy scenes on screen, still found this to be the most compelling and beautiful love story I've seen on television in years, then no. It's ridiculous. It's nonsensical. Look, if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. I mean, all art is subjective for sure. But no, just changing it from a gay relationship to, you know what that is? That's somebody grasping at straws looking for an excuse. That's simply somebody grasping at straws looking for an excuse. Look, if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. That's fine. It is what it is. But this narrative that whoever it is you're reading or watching is trying to create that. If it was a straight couple, it just would have been mediocre. No, it still would have been. It was a beautiful story of two characters who found love and beauty in a world that's gone to hell. And it's irrelevant what gender those two characters were or what their sexual orientation was. That wasn't the point. The point was finding beauty and finding meaning in a world that had lost both. And what their sexual orientation was is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Whether it was a straight couple, a lesbian couple, a gay couple, doesn't matter. It was the story of two people finding beauty and meaning in a world that had lost both. Period. And if it worked for you, it worked for you. And if it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you. But yeah, this notion of that if it had been a heterosexual couple, that would have made a difference. Okay, sure. Go back, go watch Barney, whatever is going to turn your crank. Anyway, all right. Next up, we have the Super Ranger Mud Truck. That's the username of the day right there. Super Ranger Mud Truck, who sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate that very much. Let's see. Oh, by the way, let me just address this quickly. In the live chat, J Jav Dav writes, John, sorry to ask, but were the super chats for the after show yesterday lost, or will they be read in another video? Sorry if you already addressed this, just joined the show. No, Robert Meyer Burnett and the guys, they recorded a companion video to yesterday's Last of Us. So the questions that got sent in that weren't answered because our Spectrum internet went out, those have been answered. The show's been recorded. It's being uploaded. It will be available on the channel a little bit later today. So yes, if you had sent in a super chat for that show and it didn't get answered because our Spectrum internet went out, we were able to save them, and we did answer them in a companion video that's already been recorded and will be uploaded a little bit later. So hopefully that clears that up, J Jeff. All right. The Super Ranger Mud Truck sends in a $20 super chat and asks, or it says, I met Michael Pena at a Pro-Am PGA tournament. Nice. A couple of weeks ago. He said he had some Apple TV Plus show, asked him what about Ant-Man 3, and he said, you'll just have to wait and see, smirking. He's credited for the film. Thoughts? Is he? I thought he wasn't credited for the film. Listen, we've been hearing from people who saw the show that there are two post-credit scenes. If one of those post-credit scenes is Michael Pena, I will be very happy. I will be a very, very, very happy man. So we'll see. We'll see what they're talking. We'll see. We'll see. But if it is Michael Pena in there, I'll be very, very happy. I'm very, like I said before, I'm very disappointed that Michael Pena is not a major part of this movie, but maybe once I see the movie, it'll make sense why he's not. But if he pops up in a post-credit scene, I'll be really excited. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, hey, John, with the great reaction of Last of Us and hopefully the Mario movie, do you think we will ever get a Link, a Metroid, or more video game movies? Thanks. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Listen, there's already talk. We did a report. We talked about a report that came out a couple of weeks ago that they are actively looking at doing a Link movie, a Legend of Zelda movie. I am actually... True story. I just picked up and started playing Breath of the Wild. I've never played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I remember I would go hang out at Jeremy John's house and when he was playing Breath of the Wild and it looked great, but I never played Breath of the Wild myself. And I understand the next sequel to Breath of the Wild is coming out soon. So I decided a couple of days ago, I sat down for the first time and just started the game. When I'm done this show, I'm going to go back into our game room and I'm going to pick it up again and see if I can keep playing it a little bit. But there's reports, a Metroid movie. I don't know that I'd be interested in a Metroid movie, to be honest with you. But from what I understand, they are trying to develop a Link movie right now. They're trying. So we could be entering into a very good season of video game. Don't forget, we got God of War coming out on Amazon as well, which I think is going to be fantastic. So we'll see. All right. Next up. Thanks for writing that in, Alan. Next up, we got Al Renshaw writes, Mindy Kaling moments on The Office are the best. I tell my favorite Mindy Kaling moment. And because what's her character's name on The Office again? It's, help me out in the live chat, guys. What's Mindy Kaling's character's name again? I'm freezing. I'm gonna have to wait till somebody in the live chat puts it in. But at any rate, one of the funniest, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. One of the funniest moments ever in The Office to me, and The Office is filled with the funniest moments ever. I know, but probably a top 20 hardest laugh I ever had watching The Office was an episode about diversity and about racial profiling, right? And I think it was Dwight talking to Kelly, and because Kelly had just been pulled over. Do you guys remember this scene? Kelly was talking about how she got pulled over by the cops earlier, and he said, and I think, and Dwight, I can't remember the exact wording, but Dwight said something along the lines of, "It's because you're Indian. Like, do you ever think about that? That it's because you're not white. It's because you're a minority. That's why they put you over." And Kelly's like, "You know what? You're right. I mean, the officer said it was because I was texting while driving, but I think you're right." I remember when Mindy Kaling delivered that line, I almost choked to death. I was laughing so hard. I mean, the cop said it was because I was texting while I was driving, but I think you're right. It was because I'm a minority. I nearly died. At that scene. It's, oh my God, The Office is so great. I can't wait to do Office Virgin. I'm really excited about it. And Mindy Kaling's a comedic genius. I mean, think what you will about Velma. By the way, can I just say this? I know this is going to be a very unpopular thing. I finally sat down to watch an episode or two of Velma just to see what all the hubbub was about. It's not that bad. It's not good. Don't get me wrong. It's not good. It's not that bad. If you like, it's desperately trying to be Harley Quinn. It's desperately trying to be Harley Quinn. And it's not doing nearly as good of a job as Harley Quinn is at being Harley Quinn. But it's 100% going to be the same humor style as Harley Quinn. It's not that bad. There were some things in it that made me giggle and chuckle. Again, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I'm not saying it's good, but it is not the steaming pile that some people are making it out to be. Again, I have no interest in watching. I watched about an episode and a half. I'm not interested in watching the rest of the series. I didn't think it was good, but I didn't think it was like the kind of bad that some people are making it out to be. But whatever. That's just me. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. All right. Batman11 writes in again and says, "Will the event you're doing with Alba and Harloff be streamed or available online?" After we just talked about that a little while ago. No, it will not be. It's really only for people who are coming to it live. But if the event works out, we will do more of them. And those ones we will look at streaming as a pay-per-view kind of thing, probably like $5 or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe it won't even work and we won't want to do it anymore. But if it works out, the plan is to do more. All right. Sorrel Z writes, "Hi from Toronto." Hello, Sorrel from Toronto, my old stomping grounds. "Going to Vegas for the first time. Awesome. In April. Since you go a lot, do you know what's a good buffet or a place to get good food at? Thanks." The best buffet, in my opinion, in Vegas is, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It starts with a B, but it's the buffet that's in Caesar's Palace. That's the best buffet in Vegas. To me, hands down. So as far as buffet, that's where you want to go. If you want to eat a little bit more high end, my favorite restaurant place to eat in Vegas is in the Paris Hotel. It's Gordon Ramsay's Steak. That's the name of Gordon Ramsay's Steak. It's not cheap, but Ann and I, about once a year, we will treat ourselves. Leonardo Guillen says in the live chat, the Bachanal, Bachanal, best buffet in Vegas. For higher end, I really like Gordon Ramsay's Steak. For more reasonable price stuff, in Planet Hollywood, it's another Gordon Ramsay place, but in Planet Hollywood, there's Gordon Ramsay's Burger. And it's like a gourmet burger restaurant. And the burgers are fantastic. Not only are the burgers great, they have killer milkshakes as well. Anyway, it's expensive for a burger, but it's way less expensive than some of the higher end places you could eat at. So yeah, the buffet is the Caesars buffet. My favorite restaurant in Vegas is Gordon Ramsay's Steak. But for a little bit more reasonable, one of my other favorite places to go and eat is just happens to be another Gordon Ramsay place known as Gordon Ramsay's Burger. So go and check those out. There are lots of great places to eat in Vegas. That is honestly the best thing about Vegas is the places to eat. It might be the food capital of the world. All due respect to Paris, Vegas may be the food capital of the world. It's absolutely fantastic, fantastic food. So go and check it out. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we got Chuck New 52, who writes, "Hey, John, just wondering how you keep that balance as a boss, but also somebody you'd want to have a conversation with. Do you sometimes feel too impersonal, or are you overly personable, but sometimes bring on the filthy?" It is a balance that I have to admit I am not good at striking. Look, when I run a company, whether I'm running it for myself or I'm running it for AMC or I'm running it for Complex or I'm running it for whoever, my number one responsibility is what is good for the company, what is good for the operation. And there are some people that are great at being a boss and being a buddy at the same time. I'm not. I quite frankly, I get very impersonal with people that I work with, to the point that maybe I might even come across as cold or distant or whatever. But I am not. I mean, I've tried to strike the balance of being a friend. I learned very early on, trying to be a friend and be a boss at the same time is hard, because sometimes you got to make a decision, and you have to make decisions being a boss that can hurt a friendship anyway. It's really, really difficult. It's hard, and I'm not great at it. Like, I don't hang out. I mean, Ray is one thing. Ray's family, right? But, I don't hang out with Jonathan a lot outside of the office. I'd like to. Jonathan's a very cool guy. I would love to hang out with him, but I honestly don't. But also, Jonathan lives like an hour away, so that hurts that. But yeah, I mean, it is a very, very tough balance to find. Some people are good at it. I find if I'm going to be an effective administrator of an organization, I'm not as good at the other stuff. So that's why my personal life, I tend to keep it outside of work. Now, don't get me wrong. I get along great with everybody who works here. We have a great time working together, but, whereas some people, and hey, yeah, just being honest with you, man, I love to be able to sit here and tell you that, I have mastered the art of finding the balance of being a boss and being a buddy and all that kind of stuff. I have not. I haven't. I'm very good at running organizations. Every organization I've ever run, we succeed. But I'm not great at finding that balance. That's one of the things that I think I'd probably have, and I'm too old at this point to really learn that lesson. So it's whatever. But I think there are other people who are maybe more successful at finding that balance. That's not mine. It's not mine. All right. Thanks for the question, Chuck New 52. Next up, we got Chef Rigo of Shogun Restaurant that we love so much. Do you remember the first movie you saw more than once in theater? Mine was Mummy Returns. Ooh, that's a good question. The first movie I remember seeing more than once in theater. You know what? It might be. Let me double check this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can find this. It might have been, although it might not have been. It might have been Independence Day. Might have been Independence Day. Well, no, that can't be true, because I'm sure I saw, when I was younger, like much younger, I saw the Batman in theaters, the one with Michael Keaton. I'm sure I must have saw that a second time. I don't have a solid memory of that. I'm sure maybe the Batman. I clearly remember going to see Independence Day several times and thinking this is a big deal that I keep going back to the movie theater to watch this one movie that I've already seen. But maybe that one, maybe Batman. I have to think about it. See, not Phantom Menace, because Phantom Menace came out a couple of years after Independence Day. Like Phantom Menace came out in 99, I believe. And whereas Independence Day came out in like 96, 97, something like that. But yeah, that's a really, really good question. I have to think more about that, Chef Rigo. All right. Next up, we do Alfredo Pera, who writes, "Hey, John, you've mentioned passing on working with certain sponsors. Can you elaborate a bit on your thought process with choosing to pass? Thanks." Yeah. So we get a lot of, first of all, I work with a guy. I won't tell you his full name. His name's Scott. And Scott is the one who, for years that I've been doing this, right? I've had so many snake oil salesmen saying, "Oh, we'll get sponsors for the show," and never did. We were at AMC and we had AMC say, "Oh yeah, we'll get sponsors for the show." They never got a sponsor for the show. I ran Collider, and our parent company Complex was like, "Oh yeah, they're executives. Oh yeah, we'll get sponsors. We'll get tons of sponsors for the show." Never squat. I have had years and years and years and years of snake oil salesmen telling me, "Oh, we can get sponsors for the show. We can get sponsors for the show." Never delivered. And then I met Scott. Immediately, like Scott, I remember Scott told me, I think in the first 2 to 3 months, we can get your first sponsorship deal. I'm like, okay, great. 1 week later, he had our first sponsor on the John Campea Show. 1 week later. And then my dream was just to have one sponsor a week, that we could have one sponsor a week. And then all of a sudden he's like, "I think you're going to have 2 sponsors a week." And I'm like, "Oh, all right." And then it was, "I think you're going to have 3. And then he was like, "I think you're going to have 4. And now Scott and the agencies that Scott worked for are like, "Hey, John, what do you think about having 5 and 6 sponsors per episode?" And I'm like, no. Drawing the line at 4. We are not going to have any. We'll have 2 ad breaks, 2 sponsors per ad break for a total of 4. No more. We can't do any more. But like, I've gone from like a decade or more of doing this business where everybody promised they could get us sponsors and they never did. And now I work with this guy, Scott, who's like delivering more than I can handle. Now, that means sometimes there are sponsors I have to approve every sponsorship we accept, right? And sometimes, quite frankly, they have come to us with sponsors that I'm like, you know what? That's not something I can speak to. Like every sponsor that we get, I want to be able to actually be able to say, I can look at my audience with pure integrity and say, I endorse this product. Whether it's Fume, I think Fume is a fantastic product. Mint Mobile, they are my mobile service provider. I love Mint Mobile. God bless you, Ryan Reynolds, for Mint Mobile. I don't know if you can even see it. No, it's too blown out. The screen is bright. Can you see if I turn it that way? You can see the green a bit. There it is. There's my Mint Mobile, my main Mint Mobile app. So yeah, I love Mint Mobile. I love them so much. And so I'm thrilled to have them as a year-long sponsor. HelloFresh, Ann and I love HelloFresh. So they're a great sponsor. Masterclass is fantastic. So use Masterclass. Manscaped. I use the Manscaped products. I love Manscaped. So I want to be able to have sponsors on the show that I can legitimately and with integrity look at my audience and say, we use this, all that kind of stuff. Now, that being said, there are other fine sponsors who come along wanting to advertise on the John Campea Show that I just would say, that's not us. It's not us. For example, I have no problem at all. I think it's great out there that there are men out there who have some, all of us have some physical issues, right? I mean, we have mortal bodies. We have physical issues. Some men out there, their physical issues are maybe sexual performance related. And it's great that there is medication out there that men can take to stand at attention. That's fantastic. But we have had sponsors come along that have said, hey, that are basically boner pills, that would have wanted to sing. And it's just like, you know what? Even though I swear sometimes on the show, we try to be a little bit more family friendly. I don't know that I want some dude watching the show with his daughter or whatever, and suddenly we're promoting boner pills. And I think that boner pills are great. And I love that they're out there, but it's not for us. You know, it's not for us. We have had hemp companies and like marijuana companies that have been interested in advertising on the show. And while hemp is totally legal, marijuana is totally legal, and my wife likes it, and I'll even take a hit now and again, it's not something I want to promote. It's not something I want to have as a promotion on the show. So yeah, there have been others. Too Furious saying, "Oh my God, I would die of laughter if Rob did a Blue Chew and a Blue Chew ad on the show." Yeah, that would be kind of funny. But yeah, so and then there are many examples like that of just stuff like, hey, that's awesome, but I don't know that they're the right sponsor and partner to have on the show. So it's been great. Our sponsorships have been great. Our sponsor partners have been wonderful. But yeah, we can't accept all of them. All right, guys, my drink is running low again. So we are going to take a quick second here. We're going to take a 1 minute and 15 second break while I rest my voice for a minute, refill my drink, let you guys talk amongst yourselves, and we're going to hear from another sponsor. Speaking of sponsors, one of the sponsors we love around here, our friends, you absolutely have to try them, guys. Try them out. You will not regret it. Our friends over at HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Guys, it's the new year. Do you remember those New Year's goals you promised yourself you'd stick to? HelloFresh is here to help you eat better by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door, taking the hassle out of dinner time. Looking for an easy way to eat well and save money? Cut back on expensive takeout and delivery and get started with HelloFresh. You'll love how fast, easy, and affordable it is to whip up a restaurant-quality meal right in your own kitchen. My wife Ann and I have been constantly impressed by HelloFresh. Not only how absolutely delicious the food is, but how easy it is to prepare and how much fun we have doing it. Go to HelloFresh.com/Campea65 and use the code Campea65 for 65% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/Campea65 and use the promo code Campea65 for 65% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And thank you to our friends at HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode. And again, guys, I love HelloFresh. Ann and I love them. Try them out. You will be a customer with them for a long, long time. All right. Let's finish off here, guys, shall we? That's something you never want to hear a guy say. All right, next up, we've got Alan Gonzalez writes, maybe we haven't seen more different Ant-Man trailers because it's filled with spoilers. Listen, no, you can make a trailer very easily without putting in spoilers. It's very, very easy to put in a trailer, to make a trailer without having spoilers. And giving away a little bits of what the story is about is not a spoiler. So no, just call it what it is, man. Marvel has not done a great job marketing Ant-Man. They just haven't. Maybe they've made a great movie. I hope they have, but they have not done a great job marketing it, in my opinion. And it's not because of the excuse of maybe they're afraid of it. Listen, you got 2+ hours of footage you can make a 2.5 minute trailer with. It's not rocket science. So I just don't think they've done a good job with it. All right. Our friend Rachel Knight Online writes, knowing Blue Beetle won't have a shot. Let's see. Knowing Blue Beetle won't have a shot filmed in El Paso sucks. How does location scouting actually work? How do they movies decide to film somewhere? I don't know what you mean by Blue Beetle won't have a shot. Filmed in El Paso sucks. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Anyway, let's go to the main question. How does location scouting actually work? Well, here's the thing. There are actually professional, for bigger studio movies, there are actually full-time location scouts. That's what they do. You know, once a script is put together, you get a line producer. And a line producer, once the script's been approved and all that kind of stuff, it then goes to a line producer. And a line producer will take that script and kind of break down what you need. Here's what you're going to need to make this thing happen. And from there, once you have a breakdown of what it is you need and how much it's going to cost and what you need to do this and that, that's when a location scout gets involved. That starts going, okay, we have this thing is in a script. It's like this. The director's given notes that they want it to have a feel of this, this, and this. All right, I need to find locations for this. And then location scouts will go out and they'll already have a very well put together network for stuff like that. But then they will go out, find them. They will present. Oftentimes they'll take the director out to take a look at it. The director will give final approval about locations that they're going to use. And that's the basic process of how location. Now, for smaller independent films where you can't have a full, location scout and whatever, you just find what you can find. I remember when I made my movie, it was just, hey, I need a coffee shop. When I made my movie, The Anniversary, I need a coffee shop. Fortunately, I found somebody who owned a coffee shop and they let us use their coffee shop to film our movie in and all that. And then, hey, for this, we need something to represent Sid's house. So we need to find a house that is Sid's house. All right. Well, a friend of a friend had a house that was like, yeah, you can come use my place. And so it's just that. But for a studio movie, they will have a full-time location scouting manager who will find that stuff for them. All right. Next up. We've got King Daddy Goat writes, seen Avatar 2, absolutely incredible in all ways. I love the movie. I don't think it should win movie of the year at the Academy Awards, but I do think it deserved its Oscar nomination for Best Picture. And I think it surpasses the first movie in almost every way. I'm glad you had a good time at it, King Daddy. Will Lambert writes, I want a sequel to the Peanuts movie. Anyone else? I would love one. I really liked the Peanuts movie. I thought it was charming and delightful. I don't think it did great at the box office, so I don't know that the chances are good, but I would love to see a sequel. All right. Jack and Chapman writes, finished Yellowstone season 2, Beck Bros, was such a good season until the last 2 episodes. It started to seem like they were missing scenes. Thoughts? I mean, it's been a few years since I watched season 2 of Yellowstone, to be honest with you. That's the one with Michael Hall, was one of the bad guys, one of the brothers. I remember loving it. But again, it's been a couple of years since I've seen it. But so no, personally, even though this has been years ago that I've watched this, I don't remember feeling that way. I thought it all went really well. I thought it had a very satisfying end. But again, it's been a couple of years since I've seen that. I've seen like 3 more seasons of it since. So I'm not remembering it completely clearly, but I don't recall having any sense of that myself. But hey, if that's how it struck you, man, that's how it struck you. I'm glad you're watching the show though, dude. All right. Jonathan Schultz writes, why do you think Daredevil Born Again gets the 18 episode green light, but other shows in phase 5 are still getting the shorter season treatment? That's a good question. It's going to be hard to know until we see it. I think it just might be, there's 2 possibilities here, and maybe they're both true. Number 1, it just might be that was the story they came to them with. And they looked at it and said, well, this is going to have to be 18. You know what? Here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid they went to them with a 9 episode treatment, but each episode was like an hour to an hour and 10 minutes long. Like say The Last of Us or, an HBO or House of the Dragon or something like that, right? It's like an hour long episodes. But then Disney went out and said, no, we like 30, 35-minute episodes. Why don't you break that story into 18? Hopefully that's not the case. It's probably the case. The case is probably they went with a pitch of a 9-episode season, an 8, 9, 10-episode season. But every episode was going to be like 55 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes long. And Disney looked at it and said, nah, cut those in half and make it 18 episodes. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it was just they thought, you know what? Daredevil will be a very anticipated season. And our audience has been screaming for longer seasons. So let's come out of the gate and say an 18 episode season. Maybe that's it. I'm a little bit more pessimistic. And I think it's probably a case, I hope I'm wrong, but it's probably a case of They came to them with an 8-episode pitch, with episodes that were going to be longer episodes, and Disney's just said, cut them in half. And now they're 18 episodes. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. We won't find out for a couple of years, but hopefully that's the case. Or hopefully that's not the case, I mean. So we'll find out. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Josh McKenna, who writes, hey, John, I was going to watch Midnight Cowboy, but according to IMDb, it was originally rated X. Really? The X scared me away because I'm not interested in the X-rated genre. Did you see Midnight Cowboy? I am not sure I know the movie we're talking about, to be honest with you. Let me look it up here. Midnight Cowboy, IMDb, is a movie from 1969. Is this the one with Voight? Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, it's the one with Dustin Hoffman and John Voight. I totally forgot Dustin Hoffman was in that. I have never seen Midnight Cowboy, no. But I will say this. What would have been rated X, or what would be called today NC-17, back in the, by the way, I had no idea it was rated X back in the, I had no idea about that. What would have been rated NC-17 or X back in the day, probably today would probably today get an R. And it all depends on what it is. Like sometimes things will get NC-17 for, too much nudity or too much sex or something like that. And if that stuff doesn't bother you, then you can watch an NC-17 and be totally okay with it. If gratuitous sex and nudity does distract you and bother you from something, yeah, then maybe it's something you want to avoid. But I think it would depend, because again, I think the standards are different yesterday than it was today. I think there's stuff today that's rated R that years ago maybe would have been given an X or an NC-17 or something, but it's hard to say. I don't think I've seen the movie, or at least I don't remember the movie. So I can't really give commentary on it. I can't say. It was out before I was born. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Josh. Next up, we've got My Love for Movies, who sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, My Love for Movies, for supporting us on that level. And My Love for Movies writes, one of two. Hey, John, I need your advice. I'll do my best. I run a website/content business that did really well, but I was bad at managing the finances and found myself owing the IRS a ton of money. I simply wasn't taking out enough for taxes. I'm great at making money, but bad at managing it. It's at a point where I may have to file for bankruptcy. Any advice on how to manage a business to make sure you pay enough in taxes each year, and what options I have? Okay. So first of all, thank you for supporting us on that level and writing in on that level. Now, let me be very, very, very clear. I am a movie pundit. I am not a financial expert. Okay. So do not take anything I say as financial advice or legal advice or anything along those lines. Okay. I am a movie pundit. So take that with a giant grain of salt. I will tell you what I have done, but I will leave it up to financial experts and legal experts to let you know whether what I have done has been the right things or not. Okay. Are we clear? All right. When I was starting out, after I left Complex and Collider and went on my own thing, I did two things right away. The first thing I did was get my company incorporated, right? Because there are many advantages to doing that. So I went through the process of getting Carson Drive Media officially incorporated. So that was the first thing I did. Honestly, the second thing I did before doing anything else was I found an accountant, and I hired an accountant. My accountant was not terribly expensive. It was like some months my accountant's bill was like $75. Some months that had a lot of accounting to do would be like $150. Today, my accountant charged, because I have like 4 full-time staff, 3 part-time staff, all this kind of stuff, and blah, blah, blah. So he has to do more accounting work, and I end up spending anywhere between $150 and like $250 a month for my accountant. But that's only because I've gotten to a certain size. An accountant is not terribly, terribly expensive. It is an expense, but it is an expense that is absolutely 1,000% worth every single frickin' penny. get an accountant and talk to your accountant. And my accountant has been instrumental over the past 5 years of me understanding my money flow, managing my money, and always making sure that I have a good grasp of what kind of tax hit I'm about to take. Like last year, I faced a tax bill. I mean, thanks to my accountant, I knew it was coming and we were prepared for it. But like I got hit with a $120-something thousand tax bill last year. How's that for fun? Anyway, but the key is that my accountants always made sure that we knew where we were and what we had coming. Right? As far as always prepare, we like my accountant and I talk like 4 months in advance before tax season about preparing for and making sure we are set and we're stabilized and ready for the tax bill hit, because we knew it was coming, we knew how much it would be, and we know all that kind of stuff. I would not have been able to do it on my own because I am not a financial expert, right? There are things in doing business that cost money, and you will often hear the phrase, it is the cost of doing business, right? The cost of doing business. You have to look at getting an accountant, depending on you know, how big your thing is. If it was just, even just me by myself, though, I got an accountant. But I think one of the best pieces of money, in my own personal opinion, my own personal non-expert opinion, one of the best things you can spend your money on and spend some money on is to getting an accountant to keep an eye on it so that when tax time comes around, you are well looked after. Or you are at least prepared. Like if I find even being prepared for something makes it a lot more manageable. It still may be astronomical. It still may be crazy and it still may be ridiculous amounts of money. But if you're at least a little bit aware and prepared for it, it goes a long way. Get yourself an accountant. It's not as expensive as you think. And even as expensive as it is, it's worth every single penny. So that is my non-expert advice. My non-expert advice on that is get yourself an accountant. All right. I hope things turn around for you, Love for Movies, and I hope you found that helpful. Again, that's just my experience and what I've done, but hopefully that will be helpful to you. All right. Thanks for writing in, man. All right. And our final question today comes to us from Ryan Hughes, who writes, "Hey, John, thinks about taking my wife," probably meant thinking. "Hey, John, thinking about taking my wife and 1-year-old to Canada in June for a family vacation. Nice. Would you recommend Banff, Calgary area, or Vancouver?" It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for nature, the number one place on the planet, literally the most beautiful place on earth, is Banff, Alberta. It is Banff, Alberta, near Calgary. That is the single most beautiful place in the world. If you want a great city, a multicultural city experience, that's a clean and beautiful city, Vancouver is the way to go. You'll also be on the coast. You got the ocean. There's tons of stuff. And there's beautiful stuff in Vancouver and around Vancouver as well. Almost as beautiful as Banff, not quite. But you get up to the Banff, Lake St. Louis, place like that, that's the place to go. But if you want a city stuff, if you want a city kind of experience, then you go to Vancouver. So yeah, there you go. That is my best recommendation. But either way, you're going to have a great time. Vancouver's a fantastic city. Banff is the most beautiful place on the planet. So whichever one you choose, you're going to have a great time. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Ask John Anything open mic here on the channel. Thanks so much, guys, for letting me be a part of your day. I mean, these ones go a little bit longer than the regular open mics because it's just me and I don't have to worry about everybody else's time. I can just do it myself. And I have loved our time together here. Thanks so much, guys. Big special thank you to you guys who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved at the John Campea Show and our channel, Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget, guys, to come on back and join us for the John Campea Show tomorrow. And by the way, you know those little editorial videos I've been doing, like about the fake Sony movie critic and review bombing and stuff like that? If you guys have topics you would like me to make one of those short editorial videos on, jump down into the comments section and let me know what you would like to see me do an editorial video on next. And I'm looking for some suggestions on that. Hey, and a big thank you to all you guys who joined us live for this show as well. Really appreciate it. And guys, we'll see you tomorrow. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.